As some of you guys might know, I am heavily into the carpet oval racing scene. We've got a local track here, a couple that are within an hour away. I've also had a lot of success with the Tamiya TT02. We've got trophies all around us. But now we're going to earn some trophies with something else, and that is going to be the Losi Nascar. You know, this thing right here, this is how it comes boxed. We're going to open it up and literally open up the car because there's some questions that I have for myself about what's going on here. So I'm Chad. This is the Dorky and 40 RC channel with a great unboxing here for you. Our intentions is basically to run this thing as a ready to run box stock class. Should work out just fine. I ran this thing in the hobby store. It seems pretty quick enough, so I don't think we're gonna have to worry about any gearing changes, anything like that at all. So there should be nothing besides adding a transponder that we are really gonna have to do to these cars. Probably have to glue up the front tire sidewall. We'll talk about that in this video. Just to get over the carpet traction. We do plan on running these on road on carpet as well, which means that we would have to glue probably the sidewalls on both of the front tires. So I have checked out the tires already. They seem definitely hard enough and the kind of rubber that should work fairly well on the carpet. Probably gonna have to sand them in or run them in a little bit. And again, like I said, the sidewall gluing and some traction compound, and we should be good. Now, we do allow things like changing oils if you want to, and doing things like I just said. We're not getting it. We're going to be running stock radio, stock everything for now, and just kind of see how things go. The point is to be able to buy this car, come to the track, throw a transponder in it, and have fun, and have everything that you need here. I'm a big fan of the Tamiya TT02. We try to run it a box stock as well, but there's just things that we still have to do to it to make it less problematic and just have more fun with it. So it will kind of nickel and dime you to death. That $100 car that you have to buy a servo for and everything else can inflate to like $250 to $300 real quick. This is not going to be that. Let me get this thing out of the box here and we'll talk a little bit more. All right, so here we go in the Kyle Busch livery. Now, Kyle Busch is definitely a controversial NASCAR driver. I mean, I guess who really isn't? So he kind of fits my type of personality and everything else, I guess, right now. And we will see how things go. Eventually, we will have this thing in a Dorky and 40 livery. So here's the body. Everything is real nice. We've got, of course, a real plastic spoiler here on the back, which is nice. The way that this body sits down onto the frame is perfect. We've got, our air dam here underneath here and all that kind of stuff. One thing off the bat I'm looking at is that the traction on carpet is very, very strong, even with these tires. And, the tires, again, there feels like there might be a foam in there, which is good. I believe there definitely is. The sidewalls are decently hard, so I'm still going to have to glue. For starting for oval, we'll just glue this one, and then, we'll see what happens when we get to the on-road. Now, we got oil-filled shocks around on everything, and of course, I'm going to get those things taken care of. I'm just really going to probably start with the front right. We'll take it apart, see what's going on inside there. We can throw some thicker oil in there because you always want this to be kind of, it takes a lot of force in oval, and you can see that it's going to dip, which is probably going to make the front scrape down a little bit. So we'll probably need to tune that and address that a little bit. The other thing that I want to check is battery charging times to see how long this comes with the G2 1400, which, this car's like 80% Grom, which, is the Arma Groms. They've got all kinds of different versions of it. And I've got a Granite over there. I've had the Typhon, ultimate dog toy. If you never thought about that, definitely the ultimate dog toy. So I've got a few of these, and It does come with a regular USB-C charger that basically you should be able to plug into something like an iPhone power brick to get yourself a little bit more charge capacity. If you want to go to the extreme for like fast charging, you can go with any of the new G2 chargers that Spectrum has. But what you're going to have to do is, this is what they call their IC2 plug. It's really small. You have to actually get an IC2 adapter that will convert IC2 to IC3. Then that will plug into your charger. I don't think they have any other dedicated IC2 chargers out except for this little puppy right here that comes with it. So we're gonna check the voltage on everything and test that out as well. The other thing I want to find out is what diffs are in here. Like, we're not gonna be ripping and shredding this in the grass and everything like we did the Groms, so we shouldn't have to worry about the diffs breaking or anything, but I'm just kind of curious if it has the all metal upgraded diffs in the back and all that kind of stuff. You get a little picture here with the option parts that Losi is going to be coming out with it. And of course, we're going to have some metal stuff, all metal hubs. It looks like we've got adjustable links for toe and camber, a metal direct servo horn, a metal motor guard. So they're definitely already thinking about this. And then there are the part number for the tires that we'll definitely probably have to get because we'll burn through these tires and all that kind of stuff. Speaking of tires, the other thing I'm going to do, of course, is I'm going to balance them. Yes, I know, but we are talking stock spec RTR racing here. All of this little stuff that you can do to your car is going to add up and just make the experience that much better. Looking at this compared to the other Groms, they have moved everything kind of in a line here. So instead of your 2-in-1 being on top of the servo, now it's kind of separate, which is cool. And you've got easier access to that stuff. Not that we're going to need it. You've got the fan mounted in the middle here, like they've got for the Typhon. And of course, back here is the standard brush motor. This thing is 4-wheel drive. A lot of this stuff looks definitely like Grom stuff. They did just kind of stretch this chassis out in every way possible, and that's fine. So this stuff is tough as nails. I've had no problems with it at all. It's going to be an amazing platform for any local or club track or anything. Even if you guys just want to get them with your friends and go run them outside and put some cones up or whatever, you're going to have a blast with this stuff. But if you can get to an actual indoor carpet track, I highly recommend that. Okay, so I checked the battery and the battery was at 34% and I've got it charging right now. It's 417. So I'm trying to get just a general guideline on how long it's going to take to get this to full charge. I think usually it's about 30 to 45 minutes. What I really will be interested in is tomorrow I'll run like a 5-minute heat, see what it takes the battery down to, and then see how fast it actually takes to charge it back up. Typically we have 45 minutes to an hour in between heats, and to keep the cost down and not have to buy expensive chargers, extra batteries and all that kind of stuff. What I want to do is make sure that we can get the batteries charged back up for the next heat for everybody. So 417, we'll see how long that takes. So we've kind of went over everything here with the Grom. Actually the Losi, I got to quit calling it the Grom. And I didn't flip over the other side here. You can see that they're talking about tuning with different oils and all that kind of stuff. Again, that's totally awesome. They're going to sell some, looks like scale cones, and they've got their usual, there's the charger that I'm using, the bigger version of there. And then there is that IC2 to IC3 adapter. You get a Losi Racing sticker. You've got a book that kind of got all the stuff in it. Batteries for the remote. The cool thing about the remote, of course, it is like the little RTR remote. And it really has the two important functions that we need on it. It's got dual rate for steering and it has steering trim. So that's pretty much what we're going to need. One of the problems like with the big Traxxas vehicle is that it doesn't have this stuff built into. So if you're running like a Spec Slash or the new, the formerly known as the Mud Boss, if you don't have like the TQI remote and all that kind of stuff, you have to do all this weird shit with your ESC to lower dual rate and all that kind of stuff. So we can do that here on the remote, and that's going to be great because we don't need 100% steering for oval racing, because on the carpet, if you're basically turning too much, you're just going to either traction roll or bad things are going to happen. So we're going to need to dial that dual rate down probably a little bit. And I just keep looking at this thing and how awesome everything looks. And man, it really is pretty damn sweet. So let me start digging into this car. The first thing I want to do is just take a look at one of the differentials and see what diff is inside there. And then again, I'm going to take off this front shock here. So we might as well just go ahead and work on the front end. Let me go ahead and do that. And if there's any gotchas, I will let you guys know. So we've got plastic hexes there. And of course we've got bearings on the inside. This stuff is pretty good. It definitely flexes, but there's like not a lot of slop in there. I'm not going to be a slop hater because my TT02 runs the fastest to me when there is a lot to a little bit of slop in it as well. So I see a couple different, maybe one different mounting location for the shock. Maybe not. Let's get this off of here so I can get behind there and take a look and see if there's any extra mounting positions for tuning. That would be pretty cool if there was, but I don't think that there is on the shock tower. And, again, not a big deal. Nope, just one hole for the shock. So no biggie. 2 screws and our shock is off of there. And I don't hear anything in there. Not sure if there's any oil. There is actual shock adjusters on here instead of using preload spacers, which is definitely a huge win to me because that means that we can actually corner weight this thing up if we want to even get the even more ultimate performance. And what I mean by corner weight is we can stick this thing on a 4-corner scale and we can basically play with our corner to corner weights, making sure those are kind of even, as close to even as possible. And basically what we can do is we can adjust our ride height and our weight corner to corner bias with the adjustable shock collars. Now the springs in the shock collars are super tight, so I'm going to have to run this up a little bit. So I've got a little bit of room here to get the bottom retainer off. And we got that done. And we can see we've got some limiters in there, which is pretty good. That's something that we might have to talk about. Maybe that's one of those gray areas that people will do. Again, for oval, you don't want things, you want your front right to be pretty stiff, but this is kind of like that stock racing type of stuff. There's, if you're not doing certain things to your car, then you're definitely not going to compete. They will take a little bit of extra work. So the shock cap here on the bottom for the thread is kind of cheap. So that was a little loose. So you can see that I can spin it again. So gonna have to watch that and be pretty careful. Could probably take and get some of my like green slime or something like that to put in there. And that will keep the oil from leaking out. They do make metal shocks that you can upgrade on the Groms. They're not on the actual picture, but again, we're not gonna want to do that at all. So let's see if there's any oil in this thing at all. There's nothing in there at all. Oh, there we go. A couple dribbles. So there's pretty much the first thing that we figured out that we got to do. We need to get some oil inside these things and make sure the oil stays inside of them. So if I unscrew the shock cap, there is an O-ring and all that kind of stuff in here. So you can see right inside there, there are some red O-rings. So we can actually take these shocks apart, and what we can do is go ahead and put some of that green slime in there to retain the oil. I see that there is an E-clip holding the shock piston in there, not an actual screw. So that's kind of a pain in the ass. That means that you're going to have to take off these shock ends to get everything out. I don't really know if I feel like dealing with all that right now. I'm probably just going to put some oil inside these shocks and call it a day, because quite honestly, I just want to inspect everything, see how it's built, and then get it out on the track and run some laps with it tomorrow after we tear down our off-road track. So I'm going to do my best to get this cap solid on here, and that's pretty good. So we'll put some oil in there, get things going. That'll be good enough. Does look like there's an O-ring up in there. There's no bleeder screws or nothing on this, obviously. It's just a total emulsion shock. So don't freak out about trying to get them built with like no rebound or anything. It's just not going to happen. So that's my plan for the shocks. Maybe I'm going to start with like, I don't know, 25, 30 weight. We'll see what I decide to do. And then, you know, check things like this, make sure that my hinge pins and all that stuff is free. Eventually, we will tear this thing down, like I said, and we will take some things like mother's car polish, and we will polish our shafts and all that kind of stuff. Again, it's stock racing, box stock. How much can you get out of this $190 car with the things that you might have around you? That is the key. Let me get this diff out and see what's going on inside of there. All right, so to get to the diff, the first thing you're gonna have to do is take off your whole entire front bumper. So there's 4 screws on the bottom here that you're gonna get rid of. And then there's 2 screws that actually come down through here that you can easily access and pull those out. And then this is gonna pull off. After that, it's kind of like a Grom. You've got 4 screws that hold on your front diff cover. You pull those out. Those are longer than the ones that are there. And then right there is our shiny diff. Now, I need to actually look at my other diffs to see if this is the upgraded diff or not. I can't tell offhand without probably opening it up. I don't know. It was always kind of difficult to tell. So we got everything back together here, and I did a little bit of oil in there. I just started with like 30 weight in all 4 of the shocks, trying not to make, you know, it a big deal. Again, they're, you know, you got to kind of squeeze them down, tighten the lid. They're no bleeder. They're a complete emulsion shock. They're a complete emulsion shock, so you're never going to get all the rebound and all that stuff out of them. No big deal. I'm going to balance the tires. I'm not going to show you guys how to do that. I've done plenty of videos on that and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to get that done. And one thing I am going to do in order to hook up the transponder, the fan is plugged into the auxiliary port here on the receiver. So I've got some servo Y connectors. So I'll unplug the fan, plug the transponder into the Y cable, plug that all in there, and then just kind of looking at the body, figuring out where I'm actually going to mount the transponder. Now, we do use infrared transponders at our track, so we will need line of sight. So I'm going to have to kind of eyeball where I want to put this. There's a couple ways that you can do it. If you don't want to eyeball it, what you can do is just decide where you want it, make a little hole so the infrared beam can shine through, and then you can mount it to the underside of the body here. Our little infrared transponders weigh nothing, so that's not going to hurt anything at all. Battery charge took about 50 minutes, so a little bit longer than I was hoping. We'll see how it does tomorrow when we run like, you know, 4-minute, 5-minute heat, and see how long it takes to recover the battery after that. Other than that, this baby is ready to roll. The diff, by the way, it looks like it is the all metal. I'm not sure if the complete metal diffs had a metal sun gear or not, but the planetary gears definitely are metal in this. The sun gear in the diff was plastic. So I'm not 100% how that works, but again, we're going to be just racing these on carpet, which is what they're going to be made for, and not bashing out in the grass. So we shouldn't have to worry about diffs blowing up and all that stuff anyway. And if we have to upgrade to a truly metal diff down the road, that's just probably what we'll do and throw that. There's really no performance advantage. It's just more of a durability thing. So I'm going to get this baby all back together and come back for the next video, and we will show you guys what this thing can do on the track. Talk to y'all later. Peace.